Anyone else? Okay, back to the Plan Commission. Anyone wish to start? Okay. So this is a PUD. The proposal is very comparable to many other buildings that have received PUD approval. I guess one thing I have to say is that this is on actually two arterial streets. It is immediately adjacent or across the street from another four-story building, which we're sitting in right now, three-story building, but up much higher. Sorry, it's not 4 stories, 3 stories. Comparable height to what's being proposed. 4 stories has been the standard for apartment developments for quite a long period of time. The grade here does provide substantial benefit for the neighborhood behind this because it is at a much lower grade. As for traffic, the engineering department has indicated that they are an improvement or approval of the way the proposal is for traffic. The number of units on the south side lessens the number of cars. There's 101 units on that side. It lessens the number of cars that go in and out there. The aesthetics of the building, to me, I think are very nice. As far compared to our other apartment developments, I think this has just as good or better aesthetics. The amenities are also at the top end. The design is very nice. The exterior appearance is pleasing. It doesn't create monotony. In fact, it has many different ins and outs and different materials being used. It's compatible with other facades and is an attractive appearance. Talking about natural beauty, this lot has very little of it. I have been here long enough when this was a strip mall with a grocery store, police station, gas station, dry cleaner. The amount of traffic that used to go in and out of there was significant. But like I say, it was a strip mall, and city purchased it and tore down the buildings. It's mainly just an open field with a lot of concrete and blacktop on it. There are some trees on the hill. Many of those will be saved. I do not believe this destroys the natural beauty of the area because this lot has very little natural beauty. So you have this, does it have an adverse effect on beauty and general enjoyment of existing structures on adjoining properties? That language doesn't say that you can never make it so that anyone who doesn't like what's going in there is saying that it has an adverse effect upon their general enjoyment of existing structures. It's already been presented by staff that if this was on the same height as the properties there, it would be the height of a building. If they were on the same level, topography-wise, the building would be no higher than what could be built there to begin with. The fact that they lose which is arguably a very nice view of downtown, or lose a portion of it, does not make it so that it has an adverse effect on beauty and general enjoyment of existing structures. If that's the case, there would be very few properties that would ever meet that requirement under our PUD ordinance. It doesn't have any effect upon safe or healthful conditions. It does, the drainage patterns are being met. That's all been reviewed by our engineering department. The topography is mainly staying the same. Traffic, Our engineers have gone through that. They have assured the community development that they are in favor of this proposal. Provision for parking and loading areas. I guess the situation is that, yes, there is less parking than is in our ordinance, but as you all recall, for every single major apartment building that we've done in the last 10 years, if they've been a PUD, we have approved much less parking than what's in our ordinances. Lighting as for the property has been proposed, meets our ordinances. We have the water and sewer, open spaces, appropriate open spaces, and appropriate landscaping and planting screens. They have a landscape plan. Community development has indicated that the amenities that are very close by also provide numerous opportunities for open space. Erosion control has been taken care of or has been reviewed and approved, and the airport height regulation is met. So I'll be, I think we should have a discussion, but I'll be making a motion if no one else is to approve this, subject to staff comments. So, Commissioner Keller.
I've got a couple problems with this, and I guess we'll start with the traffic component. The egress on Madison Street, I think, is problematic. I think the city could certainly endorse right in, right out for the south building, since there are no concrete appurtenances in the street. I think that would solve the traffic problem, even though it may mean some people have to go around a little bit. I just think the driveway to the south is a problem. I had asked the developer if there was a problem with taking some height out of the south building. Certainly at the corner, if we could drop a floor off quarter way through the building so it's not so massive on the corner. I don't have a problem with the architecture. I just think the mass is pretty intense. And so if there was a way to take part of the top fourth floor off on the south building to reduce the mass, I think that would be a benefit. I also recommended we create some view corridors through the building by not having a solid massive wall, by creating either a glass box or some separation in tenant space so the building doesn't look totally massive all the way up the street. So both of those recommendations were disregarded. So I guess I'm not real in favor of the end result, and so I won't be voting positively.
Anyone else? Yes, Commissioner Schmitz.
My main concern was looking at it with the right in and out on the south side seemed to make sense for that, and not having it all up on the north side, because that would, more traffic is up the speed there, but I guess I don't remember why we went to in and out left and right on those south side spots. That is, to me, seems like it'll be a little hectic. But that's just my comment.
Okay. Commissioner Montiel.
Thank you. I certainly understand the mayor's comments, and I don't necessarily disagree with many of them, but the ones that I do disagree with are those that cause me to choose to vote against this project. The aesthetics of this building, I like. Standalone, just looking at it, a lot of work went into it. It just looks nice. But the problem I have, and again, I spoke extensively, I think, the last couple meetings, so I won't repeat those comments. The traffic patterns, I know that engineering looked at it. It just doesn't make sense to me. The numbers, I think it's too problematic to put this particular building in that particular corner. I know prior PUDs had higher densities. I think this is at, 45, and the other one was at 65. I understand that, but it's not a cookie cutter decision, at least in my mind, if we approved a PUD at a different location, that just because we had densities at that location that I found acceptable, doesn't mean I automatically find them acceptable at this particular location. I understand the neighborhood's comments. The view is beautiful, but we don't, or at least in my perspective, we don't make decisions based on someone's view from their back window. I respect it. I understand it. I can try to picture myself sitting there, but one person's view doesn't dictate how I try to make a decision, which I think is in the best interest of the city. So I'm going to vote against this. I'm, again, not against development. I understand the city's, or some people in the city's perspective, that this is a good development for tax base. I also look at it from the school district's perspective. This is more students. We've got declining enrollment. There's many benefits to having a development at this location, but the detriments that I spoke on at previous meetings and again mentioned briefly today caused me to vote against it. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Commissioner Wells, do you have any? Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't believe you've actually made a motion, so I'd like to make a motion to approve the final site plan architectural review and PUD review for this site with all staff comments. I believe it's important that we prioritize future residents, people who are going to be living at this site, over existing residents' views. I can appreciate that those residents want to preserve their look from their backyard, but I also want to weigh that against people who are looking for homes. We're in an acute housing crisis. We need housing in the city, and it's important that we take a view for the entire city. I trust the work of the professionals who've done the traffic studies, reviewed this, and so I'm going to be making this motion and voting in favor. Thank you.
Okay, I'll second the motion. Commissioner Francoeur.
Thank you, Mayor. I wonder if I could ask a question. John, were you suggesting that you wanted it to be right in, right out?
Yeah, that was my suggestion based on just, again, reading the traffic report or the study and also just picturing how that traffic's going to be moving. A controlled intersection, turning right, everything will be easier to pull out into. I think you'll have more darting out to the left to try and beat the traffic that's approaching a green light versus turning right. It's just always easier.
So
I
is
just
that
think
something that you
It'll
would
move
make?
better. I don't think it's going to be that big of an inconvenience to anybody in the apartment. I think the left turns will.
Is that something that you would make as a friendly amendment?
I would.
Well, before we do that, I think there's a practical matter of how, if you're at the driveway and do you want to wait and turn left, or is it easier to turn right? I think the practical situation of what it looks like from the driver's point of view, that many drivers will, do that because it's more practical for them. So I don't think we necessarily need to make anybody do anything when they can choose for themselves, which is the safest and best route for them. Can you use the microphone?
We did have that discussion with Darren and the engineering department, and quite frankly, the way that they think it'll work is if someone's having trouble making a left turn out of the Madison Street, it's much easier to take a right turn out of Delafield and hit that controlled intersection, and I think that's the way practically it's going to work. If you require a right out, it's only going to encourage more people to go through the Randall Street corridor to get back around, or encourage more traffic into the neighborhood to the north, or to the west and to the north, which was a major consideration and deterrent for making that a right in, right out only, and that's why they added, or they required that left or the right out or exit only on Delafield Street. So we would prefer to leave it as shown, because to Beth's point, if someone's having trouble making a left turn there, they will just take the Delafield Street exit, take a right, and go left onto Wauwatosa or onto Madison Street. So that was the reason for not making that a right out only, because then it encourages more traffic kind of back towards Randall Street if you're looping around that way. And so that was why we prefer to leave it as is. But that was, I just want to give a little bit of context for the consideration as to why that was shown the way it is.
I got fixated on it was right in and out only, but it's exit only now on Delafield.
Correct.
Okay, yeah, then that's easier then to me.
So thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? So the motion is to approve final site plan and architectural review and PUD review, subject to staff comments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Did you vote? Yes. Okay, you're an aye.
Jack say?
Commissioner Wells, you just say aye?
Yes, aye.
Okay. Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, and then Commissioner Keller and Montiel, sorry. That motion passes 5-7? 5-2, not 5, it's 7 total, 5-2.
Long meeting.
Yeah, it is. All right.